Okay, good morning. So the recording has started, so I will just unmute myself. I think we're a pretty small group this morning. Good morning. I see a couple of guests in here, so I think maybe we wait until 11:04, so give people 2 more minutes to join.
All right, let's do that.
Okay, I'm just gonna start. Good morning again. Karen and Reynold and Sherma, I think you might as well unmute so we can do like a more interactive session, and then that's maybe a bit less boring than just go through the slides and hear my voice all the time. So I really am interested in where you people are sitting when it comes to productivity and collaboration. So Sherma, I give you the floor to do a brief introduction.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So, we're happy to start off our webinar session this morning again. It's our before last webinar. Today, we'll be talking about productivity and collaboration. As Jasper already said, he will be the speaker for today. Our agenda is as follows. We will start with the introduction, the welcome and introduction. That's what we're doing now. We will go on to the presentation itself, and then we will have some time for questions and answers. Since we are a very small group, it will be more easier this time, so we can unmute our mics and make it a very easy session, as in you can ask questions throughout the presentation as well. I will now pass the word back over to Jasper. Jasper?
Okay, so this is me, and I added a little note to the title, Productivity and Collaboration at its Best, 2019 style. So there's a lot of changes going on, and I'm going to focus on a thing called Teams. So I'm the solution architect at Inova Solutions, and I do a lot of certifications. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, but let's not focus too much on that. I just hope that I give you some valuable content over the next 30 minutes or so. So we should look at what are your current collaboration tool, and I just made a little list on what we call collaboration within our organizations, and I'm focusing mainly on our internal communications and collaboration. So not so much with your customers or your suppliers or whatever. They will come into the picture as well, but it's mainly about our internal collaboration tools. And I think the most relevant one that we all use, and we're pretty addicted to that one, is email. So later on, I will invite you to read some of my personal blogs. They are not iNova blogs, they are my personal blogs, because I can rant against email. I think email has been so successful that it's really killing organizations. So that is what we do. We email, we send attachments, we do distribution lists, we have all kind of threads with discussions, and then we hit reply all and stuff like that. And well, that's then we have, of course, our telephony and maybe Skype for business, Skype consumer, whatever you use to have voice conversations with your coworkers. And then, of course, we do meetings, and then we have notes and action lists and tasks and planning sheets and whatever. And probably those items sit in some shared folder somewhere, or maybe in SharePoint. Then you're already a step ahead, but they sit somewhere in department chairs or even on your local PC. And then we have, especially when it comes to external, I know that a lot of organizations where users, they will find their way to collaborate outside of the organization. And I know that a lot of users in a lot of organizations, they know how Dropbox works. But I call that shadow IT, because if your individual users use Dropbox, that's outside of your control as IT admin, as IT organization. So that is not a good thing. There is security ways to secure that. That was part of some previous webinars that we did, and even next month we will go over that as well a little bit. Then you probably have your corporate intranet, where you can find your documentation on the general guidance for working with your company, or maybe your anniversaries or whatever. Then I know that a lot of companies as well, they do Facebook, and sometimes they even do Facebook for well, maybe even transactional things. You know, you make your deal with the customer firstly through Facebook. But that again, that is shadow IT, because Facebook is outside of the organization's IT control. So I call that shadow IT as well. I don't invalidate it as a means of doing business, but we have to realize as IT persons that it's out of our control. The same applies for WhatsApp. I know for sure, even within my own company, that a lot of employees have conversations with customers, so outside of the organization or even inside the organization, through WhatsApp. And that again, that is shadow IT, because your IT department has no say in that. We have no control. It's consumer based stuff, and it has nothing to do with corporate IT. And then, of course, we have good old paper. I call that non-IT, although 99% of the paper in your organization will be generated through a printer, so it has to do something with IT, but paper for me is really like so 1987, as I always put it. So for the next 20 minutes or so, forget all about this. So the topic was modern collaboration and communication 2019 style. And in 2019 style, in Office 365 and Microsoft 365, there are better tools that can replace all of this. And I really mean all of this. And that will require some training from your end. The big word out there is called digital transformation, and that's a big word. For me, it simply means losing old habits and creating new habits. So I just picked a few. There's a lot of features in the Office 365 suite, but I'm just picking a few because I think, hey, they are underrated, underused, underestimated, and I think they have a huge potential. So I'm gonna focus on Yammer, on Teams, and on Kaizala. So wow, I think especially the third one is new for some of you. But let's start with Yammer. So Yammer is your Facebook for the enterprise, and it should replace your intranet, because Yammer is way more interactive. Your intranet is probably managed by some persons that can place content over there, but it's not really like interactive. Everybody knows Facebook, so Facebook is a pretty interactive platform. You can post stuff there, you can have your groups in there, you can follow people or unfriend people. Well, in Yammer that is not so much possible. Your colleagues are your colleagues, you cannot fire them. That's not up to you probably. So, but a lot of stuff that we now do through emails, like announcements. And I'll give you an example of what happens in our own company, because hey, we're just a normal company as well, so we're on the path of our digital transformation. So we sit in 6 or 7 different countries throughout the Caribbean, and we all have our national holidays, and they differ. So yesterday we had Labor Day on Curacao and Aruba, so everything was closed. And then what happens is the day before that, on Tuesday, somebody sends out an email to all our colleagues, hey, tomorrow is a national holiday on Curacao. So announcements like that should not go through emails. They should sit on your Yammer page, on your local intranet. Or in some of our office locations, they hire a new person. And then somebody sends an email to all colleagues, hey, we hired a new person. And then there's always somebody in there and he will hit the reply all button. Welcome. So then you're just generating a couple of hundred of emails just because there's a new employee. So announcements like that, they belong on Yammer. I'll give some more examples later on when I show you what Yammer looks like. Then we have Teams. Teams is relatively new. So Teams sits somewhere between the 3 main services of Office 365. It sits somewhere between email, Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and Skype for Business. Speaking of Skype for Business is going to be deprecated before the end of this calendar year, and all your communications will be in Teams. So it's even enforced by Microsoft that you move away from Skype for Business and go into Teams. But in Teams, that is really the place where everything happens. Your content will be there, your meetings will be there. Actually, we're currently in a Teams meeting. Your phone calls will sit there, internal and external sharing options, your files will be there, your attachments, it's your planner, it's your Dropbox, everything will sit in Teams. So just a single interface, a single application where everything is brought together in just one thing. I think it's brilliant. I live in Teams. I know that a lot of people still live in their inbox. I live in Teams. And then we have Kaizala. So Kaizala is really new. And it's like your WhatsApp for the enterprise. So like Yammer is your Facebook for the enterprise, Kaizala is your WhatsApp for the enterprise, and you can use it privately as well. So there is really, hey, we have a new person on board. Welcome, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm still somewhere in my, well, not in the introduction, we're on slide 4 or something like that, and we're at the third bullet where I'm trying to tell you what Kaizala is, but I'll dig deeper into that one later on. So I'm just going to move forward unless somebody unmutes and have a question. I will just move forward. And this is Yammer, and I don't have really very much to say on that because I know that all people almost everybody in the world will know what Facebook looks like and how Facebook works. So this is Yammer, and I just made a screenshot where you can see, hey, you can post all kind of stuff on that. You can post videos, you can post files, you can post your pictures, you can post your jokes, and then you can have a comment on that. You can like it, you can reply to it, you can share it. You can create groups on Yammer for specific topics or for general announcements. It's, as I said, it's a intranet that an intranet without a content manager. The content on the intranet is managed by the whole organization. It's a free entrance portal for all your employees. And I think that is great. That also means, because I was doing my rant against email, so email, you have to realize email is a push mechanism. So you type your email and you hit the send button, and whether people like it or not, they get it in their inbox. So Yammer, and that applies also for Teams and for SharePoint and whatever, that is way more of a pull mechanism. You will actually have to go into Yammer, the website of Yammer, to see the content. But I truly believe that we should move towards a pull mechanism for information instead of a push mechanism for information. So again, on my personal blogs, you will find tips and tricks on that, like hey, it's not elegant to send out 25 emails on Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock. It may mean that your desk is empty, but it can frustrate your coworkers to see those emails coming in on Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. So really we should move to a pull mechanism and make sure that everything sits in the right place so that the information is, people can find the information. So let's move on to Teams. Also over here, I just made some screenshots. So we are working very, very much with Teams within Inova Solutions. So this is just a screenshot of, hey, we are doing webinars. So we created a team for webinars. And that is where you will see conversations between Sherma and me, and Adriana and the other speakers. My colleague Louis is currently doing exactly the same session in Spanish. So this is where we have our conversations on, hey, who's doing what by when? Are the invitations sent out? Blah, blah, blah. And the nice thing about these conversations is that they are persistent. So if you compare that with conversations in, for example, Skype for Business, where you have your instant messaging, they are not persistent. They disappear somewhere in your conversation history in Outlook, and that's it. But whatever you type in here, it's persistent. So you can always scroll back even a couple of months to see what was discussed a couple of months ago. So I think that's a very powerful thing of Teams, that all of your conversations, they are persistent. So on to the next one. So this is what I mentioned we're still in the same team, but I moved from the conversations tabs to the files tab. And so all your files, they are in Teams. Everything that we within Inova do that has to do with our webinars, all the files, they sit in here. So actually the top one, collaboration-en.powerpoint, that's actually the presentation you're watching right now. So everything sits neatly together, very easy to find. You also see a meeting notes tab and a fiscal year 18 tab and a OneNote file where we make our notes when we prepare for our upcoming webinars. So everything just sits here. Now you should realize that in the back end, everything sits on SharePoint. So you can do your security and your document management or your governance and compliance and retention and security. You can configure that for Teams in the background on SharePoint. So I very often call Teams the new front end of SharePoint. So for the files part, it sits on top of SharePoint. There is a SharePoint library where you can see exactly the same files, and you see even over here in this screenshot, you can open this location in SharePoint. So I just move on to the next one. We can have your telephony integrated in Teams. There are several ways of doing that. I took the easy road because we also have a location in an office in Puerto Rico, and that's one of the happy countries in the Caribbean where you can just purchase telephone numbers directly from Microsoft, and then you assign that to a user. So I assigned myself a telephone number. So you can see my own number over there. It's an American Puerto Rico telephone number. So my telephony is directly integrated into Teams. I can call from over here. I can add a person to the call over a landline, and then invite other people through Teams and have a meeting just like that. So I can be the switchboard between telephony users and Teams users, or even Skype for Business users, and I can connect them all together right over here. It comes with all the features like call parking and auto attendance, whatever you have in your PBX. The Microsoft Cloud PBX has the same features. So that is really a great option where again, even the telephony, when we talk about collaboration and communication, it sits in Teams. It's just another button in the same application. This is a screenshot of Teams on my Android device on mobile. So everything sits in mobile as well. Be it on your iOS, on your iPhone, or in your Android phone, you can install the Teams app, and you have everything available that you have in Teams on the desktop as well. In functionality, there's actually hardly any difference. Of course, you have to have some kind of internet connection. Excuse me, just taking a sip of water. But it has really the same look and feel, so it's very easy to switch from your desktop to the phone. When I talk about your phone, in the previous slide on voice, actually the sound quality of Teams is so much better than on Skype for Business. Especially if people are driving, sitting in their car or whatever, and they use the mobile app, that's really good sound quality. You can really have a decent conversation with a person. The limitation, of course, over there is that they have some good headsets or Bluetooth devices connected to their phone. The same applies to a desktop, of course. If people use bad equipment, then whatever good your software is, if the hardware is bad equipment, then you're just out of luck. Then in Teams we have meetings. So this is a Teams meeting. So you can schedule those meetings out of your Outlook, or you can schedule them in Teams. That really doesn't matter because they will exist in both places. So you can always open or reschedule or change a meeting either from within Teams or either from within Outlook. That really doesn't matter. Speaking of Outlook and email, you can also email to Teams. So every team, more specific, every channel within a team has an email address. So you can send, if people really are that addicted to email, they can still use Outlook and put messages into Teams. I wouldn't recommend that, but hey, I know how people really need to have everything in their Outlook. I know people who even carbon copy themselves on every outgoing message. So For those people, it will take a while to lose old habits and create new ones. But I have a good feeling that people will adopt to Teams pretty quickly because they will see the benefits. So the meetings are, well, just like Skype for Business meetings. You get the link, you hit the button Join Meeting, and hey, here we are. And you can send attendee links and share your desktop, do whiteboarding. It's all there, and the package is only getting bigger and stronger, and more features are thrown in there almost on a weekly basis. So that goes really, really fast. And then on that tab menu where we had our conversations and our files, you can add all kinds of applications in there. There's a list by now of over 100 applications that you can just add in your team. So this is just a screenshot where I hit that button Add, and first you will see some general Microsoft applications in there, but you can add Planner, or you can add a website, or you can add Trello messaging, or you can add Yammer, or you can even add a Facebook page, or whatever. So even that content, Meistertask for project management, you can just add those applications into a Teams team. And that means that the functionality is almost unlimited. Whatever functionality you want to have in your teams available for the members of the team, you just hit the add button, and the application will be there, and it will be accessible for all the members of that team. Okay, I just keep on moving. So now we come to Kaizala. So Kaizala was launched about a year ago, and it's not really finished yet. So this is a peek into what's coming, but Microsoft is working very hard on it. So this is just a screenshot. So hey, it looks like, well, it looks like whatever. For me, it looks like WhatsApp. Actually, all those applications look a bit the same because they have about the same functionality. But the nice thing about Kaizala, when we compare that with WhatsApp, is that Kaizala will conform to all your Office 365, Microsoft 365, and enterprise mobility and security policies. And that just means that that allows you and me as admins, as IT admins, to enforce that corporate content and private content are separated within the application. And I think that makes sense, because that is exactly what we don't like about WhatsApp, and that's why I call it shadow IT. We have no control at all. But with this nifty application, which has exactly the same functionality, we can still be in control of corporate content. And if you endorse or allow people to bring their own devices, so use their private phone also for business purposes, then with the Azure information protection tools and the app security tools and conditional access, you can actually separate that corporate content from private content within the application. And if you do a remote wipe, or somebody leaves the organization, or a device gets stolen or whatever, you just do a selective wipe, and all the corporate content will be erased. Just the corporate content, not the private content. And it's also available now as a desktop client. So you can install, like WhatsApp. I always run WhatsApp on my desktop as well, because I have bad eyes and big fingers. So for me, the phone as an input device, it doesn't work. So I also open my WhatsApp on my desktop, and Kaizala is also available as a desktop. And it's based on your phone number, like WhatsApp. So the first time you open Kaizala, so it's tied to your device. You need to put in your phone number, because that's the way the push notifications that you have, new messages and stuff like that That's the way it works. It works through your phone number and not through other means of push notifications. So this stuff is not really all there, especially the first 2 points. It's not there yet, but I expect this to be done within 2 or 3 months. Then Microsoft will be ready with Kaizala to really integrate that into Teams. So you can the chats that you will type into Kaizala, if you direct that chat, of course, to a Teams, it will just appear in the Conversations tab on your Teams. So it's just a quick way to add a comment or whatever without opening the Teams application on your phone. And this also works if you don't have internet connection, but just a cellular connection, because hey, it uses your phone number. So as long as you can send text messages, Kaizala will run, and you can send your messages, and they will appear in the Conversations tab. Well, I'm just on time, so now everybody unmutes and shoot. So on the first slide where we talked about email and Skype and stuff like that, I hope you can see that all those old ways of collaborating and communicating, you can just put them in the recycle bin. And just stick to Yammer and Teams and later on Kaizala, and you can do exactly what you are doing right now in a way more effective way, because we're talking about effectiveness. So, anybody in here, shoot. Nobody is shooting. Come on.
Any
Hi.
questions, anyone?
Hello.
Yeah, I hear you.
Hi, this is Karen.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I just have a question about Teams.
Yeah, sure.
It's really about training. What would you recommend as the first steps to train mainly top management in the use of Teams? Because at our organization, we already use Teams, but IT takes a really hands-on approach to setting up the teams, and we get a lot of calls and emails about functionality.
Yep.
So what are some of your recommendations for training for top level management, like basic tasks within Teams?
Yeah, well, there are basically, I think, two approaches. I am personally, I'm very much in favor to just, hey, give it to them and figure it out. So and with that, I mean, I get the same questions. So I get questions from my users. Hey, how do I do that in Teams? Or should I create a new team, or should I create a channel within the team?
Yeah.
And then I say to questions like that, I said, that is not a technical question. That is an organizational question. So actually what I'm trying to say to you, that user adoption of things like Teams and digital transformation, that is not an IT task. That's an organizational task. And it's very nice that you mention upper management, because actually it is upper management that should be the driving force in digital transformation. And IT is only on the sideline, and you facilitate and you can consult. But one of the big pitfalls over the last 5 years when it comes to user adoption and digital transformation is that it's an IT project, and it's not. It's an organizational project. So for your senior management, I would suggest that with 2 or 3 of them, you pick a topic so create a team for them on a specific topic, and in a 1-hour workshop, you say, hey, for the next 2-3 weeks, whatever you have to say to each other about this topic, use Teams. Because the only way that people are going to lose old habits and create new ones is through repetition. So you have to give them a concrete block of material, so a project or a topic that they can work on. And then they have to find out for themselves what is the most effective way of using all those features that sit in Teams. And again, they throw in new features every day. So that is, and I would truly believe that people, that again, that is part of the digital transformation, that users should find largely their own way in there. And IT is more as, hey, we provide the service, we take care of the security, we can give you some tips on retention or how to set up a team, but it's not a technical thing. I mean, I understand that you are using Teams yourself. It's a very intuitive interface. And I mean, if people know how to use Facebook, and if people know how to use WhatsApp on their mobile device without asking at home their IT department, because at home they don't have an IT department, then Teams isn't that much more difficult. It's pretty self-explaining, but if you want to push forward your management team, I really advise you, hey, pick a subject together with 1 or 2 of them, and well, not force them to communicate through Teams, but really encourage them, hey guys, for a couple of weeks, work with this whenever you discuss this topic. That's the only way it's going to work. It's the only way. So do some workshops. I think workshops are ideal for that. Just do a demo of 15 minutes. Hey, look at these features, look at these features, look at these features. Guys, get back to your desk because you have all those features available. Start playing around with it. And then it's up to the organization after a couple of months. Then it's up to the organization to make to get to agreement on how to use Teams after everybody has played around with it. I mean, I'm cleaning up a lot of mess right now. I'm the IT manager as well, and I found in my own organization that we have I have at least 12 teams with 1 member.
Wow.
Yeah, so then I go back to those persons individually, say, hey, you created a team with 1 member, please clean it up. I mean, I can do it for them. I can take ownership of that team as an IT admin and get rid of the team. No, I want to instruct my users that, hey, a team with 1 user, with 1 member is not a team.
Yeah.
So clean up your mess. So I train them in some governance and retention as well. Or I say to people, hey, this is a project that we run about a year ago. It was done 8 months ago. You're the team owner, clean it up. Put the files somewhere where you want to save them and then delete the team. But you will have to find that out. It's a journey, you know, digital transformation is a journey. And we have to find out together, and you have to find out in your organization together with your colleagues and your managers and whatever, what is the best way for you to work with Teams. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
it does. Thank you.
So be patient. Be patient. Don't throw all the features at once at all of your users. Then they will just drown. Anybody else? No more?
I have another one.
Yeah, sure.
Could you could you speak a little more about Yammer?
Yeah.
As in terms of it replacing an intranet?
Yeah, well, it depends, of course, a little bit on how you use your intranet right now. But in general, I mentioned the word before. In general, an intranet is not really that interactive. There is a content manager, somebody who manages the content on the intranet, and they get their input from the organization. Hey, post this on the intranet, post this on the internet, this should sit on the intranet. Whereas if you would make the move to Yammer, you will get a way more interactive intranet. Like Facebook, where you can congratulate people on an accomplishment or whatever, instead of that it's so the hierarchy of a legacy intranet would be that it's really company owned. It gets dictated from management what should sit on the intranet and what should not sit on the intranet, or what is published on the intranet. And that's fine. That may work. Although I think in 2019, if you have a interactive platform where people can just put their anniversaries and their accomplishments and their jokes or their noteworthy things and as I mentioned earlier, general announcements on public holidays or a new employee or somebody leaving. Just think about your flow of information on what would reduce the flow of information, and I aim specifically at emails and stuff like that, going to that pull mechanism instead of that push mechanism. So what would happen with the flow of information? I gave the example on so we hire a new person. Within my own company, we hire a new person. So somebody sends out an email, hey, in our Ecuador office, we hired a new person. Please welcome that new person. And that email goes out to all my colleagues, to everybody within Inova. And again, then somebody will hit the reply all button. And then we have already twice the amount of emails. And then maybe somebody else will hit the reply all, and then the new employee, who is still naive and ignorant, he will hit the reply all button as well. And then you already have 3 times 50 emails. So that is not, for the organization, that is not an effective way of collaboration, of communication. If you just post it once on Yammer, and then people can type individually, hey, welcome, join the club. Great, that's it. So that is how I think that Yammer should work. It should reduce unnecessary flow of information. I mean, everybody is killed by their inbox.
Yeah, and as for where is this information stored? Is it in OneDrive?
Well,
the
that
information
depends.
that is posted to Yammer. No,
Yammer is Yammer. It's a separate thing. Like SharePoint is a separate thing, and Exchange Online is a separate thing. So it sits in Yammer. And if you would attach put files in there as well, you can choose. You can upload a file to Yammer, and then it will just sit in Yammer. Or you can say, no, I'm just posting a link because the content actually sits in SharePoint, and I wanted to keep it in SharePoint because that is where I do my document management and my security.
Okay.
But the normal text that you type and stuff like that actually sits in Yammer. It sits nowhere else.
Okay, and uploaded documents, they sit in Yammer as well.
They sit in Yammer as well. Unless if you upload smartly, you can upload directly from your SharePoint or your OneDrive. You can say, hey, put this on SharePoint, and then it's just a link. When a user will click on that, it will not click a document that resides in Yammer. It will open a document that resides in SharePoint or OneDrive.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? No? I'm just gonna move to our upcoming events. So next month in the webinar, we will do security management in the cloud. That's going to be a nice one. And then we have some, so if there are people here who are in Barbados or Trinidad or Belize or Cayman, we are going to go there. And then we're going to do a whole session day of modern workplace and security. As in, let's call it a workshop. So a whole day from 9 in the morning till 4 in the evening and in the afternoon. And we'll do all kind of great technical stuff related to Microsoft Cloud and security and Windows 10 modern workplace. So then we are, of course, on our social media. And I think we're a bit late, but that's because of the very good questions. Thank you very much for that, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of your day. And I hope to see you, hear you next month online, same time, same place, first Thursday of June for security management in the cloud.
Thank you. Have a good day.